Let's talk about your polls and quizzes that you answered in my community tab. It had been perhaps some weeks ago that you had been pressing on what you liked best concerning your twin flame or what you thought was the right answer in a collection of around 4 in the quizzes, and then saw what was the right answer as far as I was concerned. But it has been done. You have been pressing those buttons. And yeah, there were a lot of quizzes and polls. And we're going through them all. We have already been doing that in 3 earlier episodes. And this is the 4th episode of that series. And I'm going to look at my screen where there are, yeah, screenshots of those answered polls and quizzes, and we're going to talk about it, and I hope to present them as clear as possible to you so that we can have a grasp on what the question was, what the answers were, and then get some conclusions and explanations. And yeah, I hope this is going to be fun and educational. So let's start. And this was where we had come in all the polls and quizzes, and we had come to this one. How long has your twin flame journey already been going on in this life? And this poll, which it is not a quiz but a poll, has received 21 votes. And the answers were since this year, less than 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, or 30 years. And afterwards, I actually realized that I forgot the option of 5 to 10 years because now we have less than 5 years and then 10 years. But there's a little bit of a gap there. I'm sorry, I'm not perfect. But I think that, you could approximately indicate what is your situation, and that was, I guess, good enough for now. Because I was just really curious. Maybe some people know their twin flame from their childhood and they're a little bit older already. So that could be decades, but some other people, they have just been awakened by this amazing feeling in their heart that was bursting open from something that happened recently, and they're like, what is this? Maybe I should look online or on YouTube what this can be. And it can be that it came for you, that it came out that it might be a twin flame, and that's why you're watching this. And then you get the answer since this year or less than 5 years. So of course, there can be a lot of difference in it. And 62% has answered less than 5 years. So that's, I would say, pretty recently, although I understand completely that it can seem to you like an incredible long time has already been passing by since you had this probably illusion bursting, heart opening, amazing happening happen, and probably also with some complications here and there, so that you're thinking, what shall I do, how to resolve this, etc. And I understand that a whole bunch of these kinds of things that make your skin crawl, I don't know, that's maybe the wrong expression, in which you would scratch your head, maybe that's better, can pass in 5 years. I understand that, so don't worry. But less than 5 years is relatively short. And we have 10% indicating that you have been having the twin flame journey since this year. So that would be fairly recent. 19% said 10 years. All right, a decade. 5% said 20 years and 5% said 30 years. Now, I am personally in the category of 30 years since we met, over 30 years since we met. And yeah, I think also being aware of this phenomenon pretty much, however, only maybe 25 to 20 years that I was really actively playing with this word, twin flames and whatnot. And it became more pronounced. But that was also when I was more in this pronounced personal episode of my life, in which you are looking for that much more consciously and on a slightly more matured level. And that is when I was around 20, right? That was starting to become something different than when you're 10, because it becomes more of a thing to maybe try out a serious relationship when you're 20 plus. When you're 10, you can nevertheless, feel the same way in your heart and have the longing for it and have the desire and have this feeling that something's out there for you and that something in a love that touches you real deep as well. And that's what certainly happened for me. So I think it would be good actually for teenagers to start to understand what's really going on in real life, in real spiritual truth, with these kinds of twin flame options that exist. Actually, it's just one option, of course. It's your twin flame and that's it. But I mean, it's another option than what would be considered regular in very many cultures and places as of yet, right? So that's what I wanted to say about that. I think it's good that teenagers start to understand what's the truth. And actually, you can already, I think, talk about this with children much younger. Because it's just what they see parents do or grown-ups do in love relationships. And I mean, even small children understand that, that what a love relationship is between the parents or between other people. In essence, that it is the one you love in your heart and then you want to be with them. And that's just the same actually in all ages, strangely. I think it's actually more of a detraction that gets in the way often when we get so-called sexually ripe, and then the sexual thing might come in the way, or at least, where I come from in my family and culture and bigger social circle, I think it was really the case that there was no real connection between sexuality and heart relationships. That connection was not made. Well, at least certainly not how I grew up. That connection was not made. I think it was very immature. It's a very immature stance to have because, well, toddlers, they become, in your developmental psychology, they become aware of like biological sex changes and stuff, like differences is what I mean. Differences that they have, and also they have sexual feelings in the sense that they feel sensations in their sexual organs, and that awakens then often as just a phenomenon of the body that is, you might want to say, like, not sexually ripe yet in the sense of what we often think about in your teenage years. And we think about when you think about reproduction, right, then the sexual organs become reproduction organs as well. But that doesn't mean that they don't start to feel the feelings of their sexual organs. And when they're toddlers between 3.5 and 5, that is not connected to relationship and relating and connecting and feelings and so when you have, but people psychologically sometimes are stuck at that psychological age when they physically grow adult, and then you're psychologically stuck at 4 years old and you have not learned to connect sexuality with feelings and with relating, with relationships, with emotional relating. And that was certainly going on where I came from. But I do think this is a very general phenomenon that you might see very broadly in social circles and societies. I think it is a societal issue and problem that you would see widespread if you would notice and be more alert to where you would see this, like pornography is an outing of that, but also what would be perhaps more the female variant of pornography, and it's actually reading romance novels. And also other forms of it, such as social media, which is also about relating relationships, attention, and sometimes also sexually tinted attention for females and stuff. And that is then separated out of the integrity of emotional relating. And that's a widespread phenomenon, of course. So that's very societal, social, to see it like that. And that is actually being stuck at this emotional development of the toddler, partially, and not having integrated that, not having developed further in that sexual, emotional, developmental stage. So, how did we get there? Well, this was an interesting segue, but it was about that you can teach children actually from the age on from which they are starting to integrate sexuality and feelings, that you can, of course, try to be a special friend, or like lovers with someone from school or what have you. And that can be something to try out, how you feel about that, and in which you can feel an integration or work towards, of course, over a long developmental period. I'm not talking about strange things such as sex for underage children or what have you, or very young children that are really not developmentally there. I'm really not talking about strange things. I'm absolutely talking about sane, healthy developmental stuff, okay? But then within that, to see it with eyes that are actually open and realistic and aware, and then even adding some eyes to it that are attuned to the twin flame idea. Because what I wanted to say is you can learn children, of course, to try out how it is to be romantically involved and start to integrate sexual feelings and emotional feelings of relationships. And you can try that out. But you might as well, just as well, at the same time, within that story of trying that out and learning that, integrate the idea that it is actually the twin flame that you're truly desiring deep in your heart, and that you can have that physical and psychological thing, the physical sexuality feelings, and the psychological emotional relationship harmony feelings. And you can have these great things that you might want to try out with someone to get to know what that is for you. But that you can have that with your actual true twin flame, which is your ultimate lover, and that is for everyone. And I think children might understand that very well because they're very open, and they might still have their heart connection intact, that grown-ups often have forgotten, and they might perfectly understand that there is someone is exactly fitting to their heart out there, and that is actually best fitting as a behavior that they're growing into with the integration of sexuality and emotional relationships that is best fit with your true twin flame. And that will be the perfect satisfaction in all of these life areas that they could try out. Yeah, and that is so for everyone, and that you can choose that in your heart to be so, and then you can call them in and they will come into your immediate experience and in your life. And that is, of course, so for whatever age you are. You just need to know this and be taught this and get the freedom to have that so from the people that are your parents or the people you grow up with, you know, the adults in your life. And they would need to know what that is themselves. And that's, of course, what we're going to create now. So I think that would be ideal, that would be perfect, and actually very normal and very heart-based, heart-centered, and yeah, really perfect. Because there's nothing wrong with growing up and trying that out with somebody that is also learning that, but it's really perfect to, and absolutely possible to have that with your true twin flame. And then within that new mindset of being with the true twin flame in all of this, you start to understand that it's actually really meant for the true twin flame. And when you go deeper, you understand it's really meant for the true twin flame only. But that is a spiritual development that you start to learn and grow into. Now, this exact same thing is actually what you need to go through to learn when you're already grown up and maybe you're 20 years old or 30 years old or 40 years old or 50 years old or 60 years old or 70 years old or however old you are. This is the exact sum of things that you would need to go through, and sometimes it's just so good and so healthy and so healing and so logic that you go through all these phases again if you have to. Right now, and experience them all again, even from the toddler's phase on. You experience what that is again for yourself in all this development. And all these developments, they can happen at the same time. The biological development and the psychological development and the personal development and the spiritual development, even to the degree of the true twin flame, which is really the newest, biggest, ultimate spiritual development that you can have. So, yeah, that's what you can go through on any stage in your life as an adult. And it's often also needed, so don't be mistaken. This might happen to you, and that would be very good. So, and we were actually talking about how long people had been on the twin flame journey for. And I think when that takes some years to repair this development inside of you, well, take 3 to 5 years for it. I think that's very healthy and good and nothing wrong with. And do that with a community and a teacher and the true twin flame inner work tool and more resources that are true twin flame work. Do that. And then that can be a great avenue to walk for a couple of years and just allow yourself to sink into what that is, and then yeah, things will show themselves to you, I'm sure. And if it takes a few more years, no problem, because time in the end does not exist. You can always be together with your true twin flame when you have worked through your blocks, when you have chosen it actively, you're in the right community with a true teacher. That can totally happen. And when you're in a harmonious union and you maintain that, you're sure of that, and you know that it is your true twin flame, not a false one, You will be sure that the building you're going to do inside of your union does not fall down anymore. And it'll just feel peaceful. That's what you want. And you'll experience the joy it is truly about. And that's what you want. All right, we're going to move on. The next poll has 9 votes and sounds like this. What kind of twin flame person are you? Yeah, I thought this was fun. What kind of twin flame person are you? Remember that. You have a feeling you are surrendered, yet are unfulfilled. 22% voted for that. Is that you? Did you vote for this, or would you vote for it? Is this the twin flame person you are? Or are you this? You take your union as the foundation of your abundance seriously. You take your union as the foundation of your abundance seriously. Well, 0% voted for that. But this is actually what I stand for. Oh my God. This is how unpopular I am. Okay, my work is about spreading the idea that your union is the foundation of your abundance, which is when you overflow in your spiritual space and you start to overflow this beautiful fulfilledness of your heart in your life, in your actual life, you know, in your food life, in your health life, in your relationship life with your twin flame. So you're actually behind that too, but you didn't know what it meant, right? With your money life, with your everything, your abundance is that. Your union is the foundation of that overflow of the heart into the space of life, of physical life, material life, your life. Okay, or are you, and when you want to change your mind about this one, you're welcome. Please put it in the description. No, this is not the description, Petra. Come on, the comments, of course, below. Yeah, because then we have some votes for what I stand for, you know. That would be so nice. What kind of twin flame person are you? You want to start to become active in your spiritual desire. 11%. I like that. Becoming active in your spiritual desire can mean many things, but it can, among others, mean that you start to do your actual twin flame inner work. You can come to the community, you can connect with a teacher, you can start to do the twin flame inner work every day and every moment. You can start to invest money in yourself. You can start to choose it actively. You can start to do many things that have to do with it, and always follow through when you feel a divine impulse to do something. So don't hang back. There are spots and places on the journey where you can sink deeply in rest, and there are also places in the journey where you have to be active and do things and invest in yourself and do the inner work and all these things. So you're neither active nor passive. You just need to be in being, and that can have both depending on where you are and what is being asked from you. And then we have the possibility that it's you that is taking responsibility and are ready to do your inner work. And 22% was agreeing with this, that's the kind of twin flame person that you are. I like that, taking responsibility and ready to do the inner work. Well, that's a good start. Because then you start to understand that it's not your twin flame that is doing everything to you. They're not the asshole that rejected you and that walked away and blocked you on social media. No, you take responsibility that it is you that is upset by that. You have emotions about that. And that's your responsibility. How you feel is your responsibility, and how you transform that is by doing the inner work. Now, we have Twin Flame Inner Work with the 4-step key tool, and you can just start to do that. And I share a whole lot about how that works in our Facebook group. It's called Your Abundance. See, there is the abundance. That's what I stand for. That's what I said. And you can come to that group. You're very welcome to join us, and you can just, download our files from the file section, and you can come to our monthly key workshop, and you can put the hashtag key in the search bar of the Facebook group itself, not from Facebook in general, but of the Facebook group, and then press enter, and a whole collection of posts and videos will come up all about that twin flame inner work. So you can just do it. You can. And I made all that possible for you. It's here for a reason. It's here to be consumed. So there you go. And 44% actually said that they want to join the movement of people in harmonious union. And that's the kind of twin flame person that you are. Beautiful. I love that. 44% wants to join the movement of people in harmonious union. And I totally endorse that. I agree. I love it. Very good. And you can do it by doing the correct twin flame inner work in the correct community, in co-creation with the correct teacher. You are in fact guaranteeing yourself that you will reach harmonious union. The state of consciousness it is all about, or the state of being, if you will. That's what everybody actually wants. And that is the place from which your relationship will be built in the 3D, in the material world, in your daily life, in a harmonious way. And we're going to move on. We have a poll again, and it's called, the question is, what do you feel is your next challenge? You're going to slay like a hero. I like that. Slay it like a hero. This poll has received 9 votes. And 56% was saying to themselves that they're going to slay this like a hero, loving myself fully without doubt and continually from now on. I love that. I love that you're loving yourself. That's the whole point. Love yourself on the twin flame journey. Love yourselves together with God until you're fully filled with divine love. Loving myself fully without doubt and continually from now on. That's how you get to harmonious union. And 22% actually said harmonious twin flame union, the consciousness state. That's the next challenge they're going to slay like a hero. Well, there were only 9 votes, but still. I love that answer too. It's actually the same as the other answer, loving myself fully without doubt and continually. That's what brings you in harmonious twin flame union, and it's also what keeps it in place. But we also have to be aware that we're going to love ourselves with the actual twin flame inner work tool called key. So this key is really key. Otherwise you might wander off of the consciousness place it is actually about, so I don't advise that. 22% also voted for getting into an official relationship with each other. That's your next challenge you want to slay like a hero. Yeah, I love that, and I understand that. Very many people struggle with that because the twin flames seem so non-traditional in a certain way, because it is divine love instead of social love, which is not really love. And very many people come to know this new kind of love, the divine love from the twin flame, when they are in a relationship that they then end, or the relationship ends by itself or whatever. The twin flame never ends your old relationship. It's not their fault or anything. It's not possible. It only ends because you and the person with which you are in the relationship come consciously or unconsciously to the conclusion that this is not real love. And then it ends, and that's actually natural when you think about it. Whichever way it happens doesn't really matter that much. Someone else can't break your relationship. It's just not possible. The least you've done is let it happen or something. So that's actually your decision, or the decision falls in itself because you know that this is not real love. So yeah, what are we talking about? That happens for many people. And then they're sort of outside of the traditional relationships of before. And now what? And the people seem a lot of the times really very awkward with that, what I've seen. Like what to do now. And they may not be completely healed yet and have problems with how to relate in a correct way in a divine context, even, which makes it very definitively standing out as something that you autonomously from your soul, vulnerable in your vulnerability, would need to make steps in. And that's just very naked and very open and very insecure in some sort of way for a lot of people in the beginning when they don't understand what's going on and what this is. And people I have seen and heard often get stuck there because they don't really approach this beautiful divine love and romance of the true twin flame with the old relationship steps. And so this is maybe difficult to express, but the old relationship steps were also not right. They were not healthy in how they were taken, in how the stance was inside of that. But that doesn't mean that in the true divine romance with the true twin flame, you can't also make steps. You can. And it seems like people sometimes don't really understand that as of yet. But you can move forward in that relationship and make it an official relationship in which you say yes to each other. You can make it an engagement as next step. You can get married. And these are actually pretty logic steps to take with your ultimate lover, don't you think? Especially when you have that in your values of life, that you value that. And another way of approaching this or saying the same is that your harmonious union is actually the spiritual marriage that comes forward as that it's already a done deal. Well, don't you want to pair that up with a physical marriage, so to speak? I think that's not more than logic. So think about it like that. I hope that helps. So getting into an official relationship together is certainly a direction. Yeah, absolutely. And for as much that you still associate that with what went wrong in the kind of unhealthy version of the past, of the social deal and societal marriage, well, at least in the not heavenly society, that's also your inner work to do within harmonious union. Then you do that inner work. You heal that. That's what it's all about. You heal all those things. And you come to the right place. Not only because the twin flame is the right place in the sense of the right person, but also the right place in your personal, let's say, sanity, where the divine is healing your psychology so that you can experience it in this beautiful, healed way. In the way it was actually meant by the divine in the first place. But you didn't know that yet. So there's a lot to learn and new things to experience. Well, isn't that beautiful? Let's see. What do you feel is your next challenge you're going to slay like a hero? We also had getting back into a conversation with one another, 0%. But I think that a lot of people actually are there. That could be a next point or a next goal, the next challenge that you're going to slay like a hero. Because many people say that their twin flame went out of communication with them. They blocked them on Facebook or something as well. That's often the most heard complaint, right? These kinds of things. So getting back into a conversation together can certainly be such a goal, I would say. And how you do that is by doing the inner work. So you start with the key tool, with step 1, and you make a sentence out of it. I am upset because he blocked me on Facebook, and that makes me feel rejected. I mean, that's the whole point. You feel rejected. It's never the physical thing that happens that is really the point. The point is that you feel rejected. And what you're then going to do in the 3 steps that come afterwards is heal that feeling of rejection inside yourself. And when you come out of that whole 4-step key tool, you'll feel different. That's how you'll see other things. You'll see the issue differently, or you don't see the issue at all anymore. It just went out of your perception. You will act differently. You will judge reality differently. The reality will appear differently to you. The reality will be differently that you are operating in. And when you think of this, your twin flame is you at the core. So when you heal at the core, they too, so they must also change, even as if it is slightly or if it takes them a little longer, it still is. There you go. And we also had getting the true twin flame inner work tool down as a habit. 0% voted for that. But I think that is a beautiful next challenge to slay like a hero. Because as you see, as I just tried to explain, this is really the thing that you need to learn to get all these things in order. The twin flame getting back into conversation with you. The twin flame letting go of their third-party relationship, and all these things come in order from you doing the twin flame inner work, and start to learn how to do it and get it down as a new habit that you're going to do always. This is going to be a challenge in the beginning because it feels weird, strange, and sometimes even counterintuitive, but it's really the thing that works. Many people want to psychologize, and psychology has a place in life. Your psychology will even be healed from the state of consciousness of harmonious union, guaranteed. But here's the but. It's an enormous but. Maybe your psychologizing is sort of correct, maybe sometimes not really. But that doesn't really matter. True progress on the journey is made by doing the inner work with the inner work tool for twin flames, Gold Key, with 4 steps and 2 versions. That's it. And how does it work? Well, differently than psychologizing. And how does it work? Well, you're going to love yourself and turn everything around. And there's a little bit of technique to it, and you can get used to it. Because in the beginning it might feel strange, even counterintuitive, because you're so used to all the other ideas. But it is the thing that works. You can learn it. You can repeat it over and over and over, so that at the end of the day, you get it down as a habit. And you've done yourself and your union a huge favor. Okay, I think we're going to move on. What would it take for you to start the true twin flame inner work finally and keep at it? Right. This was a little bit of a tricky question. Yeah, because I was getting so aware that people don't do the actual twin flame inner work. They do something else. And that might feel good to you, and you might still keep it because it feels good to you, no problem. But you need to add the actual inner work to it. And you need to start to focus there when you want to have success on the twin flame journey. And I was starting to get this sense that it might seem really attractive to get your ultimate lover. And very many people are kind of obsessed by it and being on the journey and talking about it and making videos about it and talking about it in Facebook groups and whatnot. But when you look at people that actually came closer to me in my professional work the past couple of years and how that went for them, they were often less than enthused, okay, when they finally got to understand some truth about what kind of inner work to do, about what kind of block they actually had, about who the true twin flame actually is for them. They were not enthusiastic about that at all. And there were actually many people that did not make it to harmonious union. They did not want it in the end, even. So, and I certainly also saw that it was very, 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 very difficult for people to understand that they should do the twin flame inner work, that it's a specific thing, that there can exist a person that knows what that is because they have studied for that and invested with everything that they are and have in that, so that they now can give this to you. And then you could take it and accept it in and start doing this twin flame inner work. And that was incredibly unpopular opinion of mine, and unpopular tool, unpopular to execute. And this may all sound very strange to you. I understand that. Because it looks like everyone wants this. It's the ultimate thing, so everyone should want it. There's thousands on the internet searching for twin flame information every day. Some videos, even of mine, because I'm very, very small at this point, have thousands of views in a short amount of time. It must be incredibly popular. Everybody's doing this and talking about it. It's a new rage. Everybody's doing the inner work and working on it and working on it and working on it, but nothing could be further from the truth. In reality, well, this just means the positive interpretation is there's a beautiful opportunity for you to actually do it, to actually take it seriously, to actually desire it truly instead of only superficially. There's a huge opportunity to take it seriously. There's a huge opportunity to start to take action and invest in yourself in many ways. There's a huge opportunity to be one of the first ones that fully does that and reaches harmonious union. There's an enormous opportunity to grab my personal attention, and especially at this point in time in 2023, in the fall, in which I do have time for you personally. That might change. There's an enormous opportunity to actually take it on for real from someone that is not thirsty for your money only, selling you lies. There's an enormous opportunity. What would it take for you to start the true twin flame inner work finally? And keep at it. So that's how I came at this question. What would it take for you to finally do it? Because you're not in harmonious union yet, so you've not done it yet. That's also, the disappointing truth. I'm sorry to say, but I'm not sorry because I have to say it because that's the only way I'm helping you. What would it take for you to start the true twin flame inner work finally and keep at it? So I was just pondering about this whole question, and I got 4 votes on 5 poll possibilities. And the possibilities that I filled in were investing enough of my money. So I thought maybe people should just... That's often what it takes for people, to invest a lot of money, and then you're going to do it. Because now you've invested in it in more ways. Now you've invested your life force energy in the form of money in it. So now you're going to do the inner work, which is actually how most coaching services really work. You start to do it when you invest your money in it. Because now you've paid for yourself to be sure that you're going to do it, which is really not bad. I think it's a perfect phenomenon that's not made up by me or something. It's not for spiritual work. It's just how things work in life. Okay? So I think that is actually perfect. It might take investing enough money so that you are going to do it. And that's something I actually take into account for how I work. And that's one of the reasons why I ask money when you want to work deeper with me. Because it guarantees that you're actually doing it. It's for your good that I ask money. That is so that you take it seriously. Otherwise, I can like sit here and teach for another 5 years, but you're not gonna do it because you haven't invested your money. You're not invested. And that's why you don't take it seriously, and that's why you don't reach this very thing that you came to me for. So I have to ask money so that you do it. I think that's a very psychologically sound reasoning that actually works in very many aspects of life. That's just how things work. So that's why I put it in here. I was like, let's see if people would vote for that. That they can be true to themselves enough so that they can say, yeah, indeed, I need to invest my money because I understand that now, Petra. Because that's when I will start to do the inner work, when I've invested my own money, and now I will understand that and press that option. But nobody pressed that option. But that's why it was there. Or having a coach holds me accountable. That was another option. Nobody voted for that. I think that is also a psychological principle that it might take for people to start to actually do something. It's a very normal principle. And that's why I have coaching sessions. You can book them. And the most inexpensive way to book one-on-one coaching sessions in which I coach you through doing the inner work itself is here by coming to our Facebook group, Your Abundance, where the whole inner work for Twin Flames is given to you for free already. And then you can book from there on out a very cheap one-on-one short online coaching call with me. And then we can just do your inner work together. I will coach you through it. And that's a way to be held accountable for doing it when you would schedule such a call every week, which I would advise. Then you're held accountable by your coach that you do the inner work. And it works very well. And you make actual progress on the Twin Flame journey. You might want to do it once in every second week. Also beautiful. Or however you like it. Another option that you could press was investing my time to learn what it even is myself. That's another way of approaching that. When you invest, then you might actually start to do it. And investing your time is also a way to, at the end of the day, start to do it. Because now you've invested all your time in learning it, you might as well execute it. So that you really get a return on investment on your invested time in learning what this Twin Flame inner work even is. Now you can do that for yourself in our Twin Flame community on Facebook, because there I describe it. I have videos, I have study material, I have some downloads that can help you, and you start to do it. And that's how you invest your time to learn what it is. You can read my books. They're available on Amazon or on Bol, which is, I think, a Dutch website only, perhaps, but there it is. As ebooks, you can do all these things. You can study. I even have self-study courses. They are e-courses fit for Twin Flames and Twin Flame progress on the journey. I have 2 of them. You can invest your time to learn what it is. So these e-courses cost money, for sure. But just saying that you can self-study as well, that's like an elongation of spending time, investing time. Yeah, nobody voted for that. But there were people that voted for having it brought to me in online workshops. So I'm happy that you voted for that. I do already bring it to you, the Twin Flame inner work, in online workshops. Every month we have at least one key workshop for Twin Flame inner work in our Facebook community. It starts up from there, and then we go to Zoom, and then we meet with one another, and I give a short explanation with a presentation, and afterward we're just doing it. We're just executing a key, often in 2 versions, and you get an experience of what that is like. And we discuss how it feels, and now you know how it goes. Beautiful opportunity. Online workshop is already here for well over 1.5 years every month. And it's just like that. It's just a gift. You may want to donate a little bit for such a workshop if you want to. I do give more online workshops, most of them at this point also in the group. I have recorded live videos that are all in the group in which I talk hours about Twin Flame inner work with interaction of other people. So sometimes I may do them again. So online workshops already exist, but I like that it's mentioned by you here. So maybe we're going to do more in other forms, maybe in more, let's say, normal forms, that is to say, a paid workshop outside of the options that are already here and that will stay into existence. That's maybe not an English expression. There was something wrong with this expression, but there was anyway. It's clearly not my mother tongue. I'm Dutch of origin, which means that I live in the country of the Netherlands in Europe. But the most people have voted for, what would it take for you to start the true Twin Flame inner work finally and keep at it? An enormous crash of everything valuable in my life coming down. And then, maybe then, I will feel so desperate that I finally know that I have to do inner work because otherwise I'm just not motivated enough. And I don't know why the most people press that button, if they're so honest to see that and press that button, or if they misunderstood it, or if they were joking. I'm actually not sure. I must be honest. I don't really understand the outcome of this poll. So if you want to explain it to me why you did that, please write in the comments what was your idea by pressing this option. I don't know what you mean because it is actually like, it's quite something if you are going to say that about yourself. It must sound like a joke, but and it was sort of half a joke, like, should I really put that in it? Let's see if people would vote for it. But people voted for it, and I don't really know how to take it. I do think it is, in a sad way, true that we often, very often, need to suffer tremendously before we really are so desperate that we know we have to do something for ourselves, because otherwise we're just not motivated enough. So if there's an enormous crash of everything valuable in my life coming down, let's say my mother dies and my partner walks away, my marriage crashes and my child is ill, and I feel sad all day long, and then I lose my job and I lose my house and all my money. Well, that's a little bit of the Job story of the Bible. Read that one if you want to know how God wants to see these kinds of things that can happen, and how you deal with the desperation of being not sure if that was a punishment from God or something. It's a very poetic book in the Bible, the book of Job, very long, very poetic, and it shouldn't be taken too literally. So you actually maybe would need to also read or listen to something about interpretations about what is suggested that it means, because it's really about, none of the participants in this story are truly correct or right. They're just talking about how they might see all these things. when you have all these awful things happening to you, and how you might see God as a result of all these awful things happening to you. But they're not right. They're just guessing and being very poetic about it. But at the end of the day, God does restore everything. For Job, that just... All right, so I have something with that story. I went through this myself. So everything in my life came crashing down, and I finally did the inner work. So it helps. And if you want to wait for that, that's fine. But you can also start now and invest. You actually always have to invest. Also, when everything comes crashing down, you still have to invest. I think I also wrote about Job's story probably in 2014 or 15. So that's already maybe around 8 years ago. But I also wrote about it a couple months ago in 2023 in the fall in our Facebook group. I just have this idea that 8 years ago I had a blog about it, but that website is down, and I think I didn't put it in one of my books. I might still have it, the blog, on my computer. So, I don't know. I think we're going to move on. What is the most shocking in the twin flame journey to you? This poll received 8 votes. That it is real and thus legit. 25% voted for it. I think that to me is a real shock too. It was a real shock to me. I needed a long time, many years actually, to process that it is real and thus legit. I mean, when I think about it, I took 20 years to process that it is real and legit. And that's shocking, because it's different than what you've been made to believe by your upbringing and education and social circles and society. And it seems not only different, but like out of this world kind of different, right? It's a different dimension kind of different. And that's shocking. But it is real and legit. And actually the norm, and very normal. And for everyone. But you can come from a place and a culture and a mentality in which that comes as a true shock. I'm actually happy that you acknowledged that in the poll. Yeah, I'm happy about that. I am. I think I feel seen by your vote. Thank you. Because it has been my experience. What is the most shocking in the twin flame journey to you? That it brings me in a literal dizziness regularly. Well, 0% voted for that. To me, for me, this has happened. But I think more people have this than you would say. Vertigo is mentioned as a byproduct of the spiritual journey actually a lot. And that's a literal dizziness that also makes you sick, feel sick. Yeah, it can happen because it brings you in such a different attunement, and that's also having an effect on your nervous system, on your bodily feeling, especially when we're not grounded, which we are not yet. We're not grounded in truth yet. None of the people on the journey are yet. So this new divine information comes in. It's just dizzying in very many ways. Well, be kind to yourself and try to ground. And the ultimate grounding is in the truth. So that actually means that you'll find your grounding by going further inside that journey where that dizziness seems to be coming from. You need to go further, develop further, do more inner work. And then you'll find your grounding, and that is not necessarily found in like the earth and blood and bones, but it's essentially found in truth, divine truth. That's where you're anchored. And from there on out starts actually a true physical development also, in which you feel also physically grounded. But it's not a physical grounding based in physical grounding. It's a physical grounding based in divine truth, which is different. But that's the solution. And it's also the solution to all so-called ascension symptoms, which they might call all kinds of phenomena in your body that you can sense as a result of spiritual development or ascension, or however people want to call it or see it. Yeah, nobody voted for that, but I had that myself. I have been dizzy. For instance, right before, 24 hours before I was going to see my twin flame, I had vertigo, and we even needed to make another appointment the next week because I was really sick. And only much, much, much later I understood this all. That it was the incoming love of the true twin flame that actually sort of almost made this clash inside of my system with what I was doing with myself and making me dizzy. So what actually makes you dizzy, what made me dizzy, was the ego stuff that I was doing. It's of course not the divine love of the true twin flame that makes you dizzy. It's the ego stuff that you were doing, and that is now being busted. Like, hey, this is indeed not right. And now it comes out that that's not right when the inflow of the divine love comes in. We can't say that the healing divine love is what causes the dizziness. The thing that was there, where actually divine love belongs to be, that's what makes you dizzy, not the other way around. Another option, that it feels so divine and that is so different, that it is so different than the usual. 25% answered that. Yeah, that's nice. I feel seen by that answer too. Thanks for answering. Most shocking, that it feels so divine and that is so different than the usual. It is shocking. You need to process that. Good news need to be processed too. That there were illusions busted in my life as a result. 50% voted for that. Very good. It is a shocking thing that happens on the twin flame journey, and it's very much a sign that you are on the true twin flame journey, because illusions are being busted on that journey. They need to be busted because now you're going to anchor yourself in a life in divine love, and that is about truth. It is about the inflow of divine love that will ground you in divine truth. And illusions cannot live there, and they will be busted. You will get to see what the illusions in your life are. You will get to understand it by the shock of them coming out, and you will feel the feelings and emotions that are related to it, and through the processing of that coming out of those emotions, they will eventually leave because now you felt it through. These illusions can be really nasty and very awful. You can be very shocked by that. It can come out that you have huge illusions about love relationships, that it is not about narcissistic gaslighting and manipulation, and you never saw that that was what it was that was in your life. But through the twin flame journey, now suddenly this comes out and now you see it. There it goes. This is one big narcissistic gaslighting manipulation. It was never true love. This is not what love is even. It's all manipulation. Even the so-called nice things were manipulation to make me do something or to comply with someone else's control. This is not love at all. It has nothing to do with it. And it had never anything to do with love. It was all completely one big manipulation, good and bad. It was fake, it was theater, and that's a narcissistic bubble of an illusion that may bust, and your entire life may be shattered, your life perception of life may be shattered, your trust in people, yourself, and the universe may be shattered. Nothing seems true anymore. Everything seems fake. Narcissistic money situations might come up that are fake. They were never true. You lose all your money. You were scammed out of your money. These kinds of huge, big illusions come up and are busted on the twin flame journey. It is also true that sometimes on the twin flame journey first, because before these illusions are busted, they come up. So sometimes you hear about people on the twin flame journey, they proclaim that they're on the twin flame journey, and they have enormous illusions in their life about, well, indeed, for instance, narcissistic, manipulative relationships and love and money situations, or all of them at the same time, or at different times, different situations in different categories of this. And they say that they're on the twin flame journey, but they have these enormous illusions in their life. And you're like, yeah, maybe the twin flame journey name is at fault. Maybe that doesn't exist. Maybe that person is just a strange, faulty person. But maybe it's just that this narcissistic bubble of fake love and fake financial situations is actually the problem, and not the idea of twin flames. So how to get through this soup of whose fault it is exactly? Well, the twin flame journey can in the beginning stages have illusions come up. A false twin flame is a good example of that. And also all kinds of maybe narcissistic kind of like often tendency having relationships and relationships with money. And that may be invisible to you because you have been entrained as a small child from childhood onwards often to see these situations as normal and even as love. This is very sad. That is because you learn what is what in life in your unconscious trained mind, programmed mind, as a very young child, automatically. And that is super ingrained. And you might not even know that you have these things. And then through life experience, they come up and they blow up as these enormous false love experiences and false money experiences. And you don't understand that that is what that is because you have this unconscious programming that might be subtle enough for you not to see it, but actually brutal enough to actually blow up in these incredible manipulative situations that are now full-blown relationships in your adult life that you can't seem to get rid of, and sometimes you can't seem to see that it is that. Because we might be so subtly or not subtly brainwashed into this programming, whatever the program is. I think you can read and hear a lot about narcissistic programming in that direction without me needing to specifically mean that I exactly talk about the exact psychiatric definition of it or whatever, but tendencies in that direction. There's a lot written about that and stuff, and there's a lot of talk about that. You could take that on to start to understand what that is, and it is a big phenomenon. That's why I talk about it. So you can be brainwashed enough in that direction that you also don't recognize that this is the bubble that you're living inside, that came up out of your unconscious mind. With people involved, of course, but it is a blown up situation of your unconscious mind. And you can still proclaim to be on the twin flame journey and have that. That's true. I had that myself. So I understand from the inside out, completely and utterly. And the twin flame journey, at the end of the day, means you're going to do the actual twin flame inner work. This will heal you in the direction of your true twin flame and in the direction of harmonious twin flame union. It will also eventually mean that you will bust through all these financial and love relationship situations that are in the direction of narcissism. And it will be shocking. And many emotions might be unearthed. But it will be good. Because you have learned your lesson and you can move on to the real thing. And that's where you can see that you, at the end of the day, indeed were at the twin flame journey, because now you've truly arrived. Yeah. And you will heal everything that was associated with that. That's possible. And I'm a testament to that. Maybe more about that later on other occasions. Or something else right below as a comment, but I did not screenshot it, so there was nothing else. 50% said that there were illusions busted in their life as a result. And yeah, I understand. I'm one of them. Let's move on. How does your divine masculine feel? 12 votes. Like I feel in the foundational layer of my feelings. 33% said that. Well, I did make a video around that time, I think earlier than this poll, right? In which I explained that that is actually the case. You are with your true twin flame one at the core. That's the definition of being twin flames. When you're not one at the core, it's not your twin flame. That's simple as it is. Okay? So how you are feeling, well, the foundation of that, not the fact that you just hit your head on the wall and you're just like, ow, ow. But the foundational layer of like, yeah, I feel a tiny bit of self-doubt, and that's why I was wandering around today with my head and I bumped my head to the wall. It's a little bit strange example, but anyway. So that is actually the foundational feeling, is then I'm feeling a little bit unsure about myself. And they will too. In some way. And you can repair that. 33% said that. Yeah, that's beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Because it's just so true, and it's good to understand that. How does your divine masculine feel? I know I'm talking to the divine feminines here, but there are 80% people that identify as women watching my videos, so that's why. How does your divine masculine feel? Bad, because I am acting controlling towards him all the time. 8% voted for this, so congratulations, you're at least very honest and realistic about yourself. I think a lot of women can be pretty controlling. It's a huge issue, focused on relationships and then overdoing that in a controlling sense. It's a really feminine thing. It's not fun. It's kind of narcissistic if you think about it. You can heal it in yourself. And yeah, I think that's what can happen, you know. Your divine masculine will not really like that, because nobody wants to be controlled. And the twin flame is, of course, the first to feel that and to be affected by it, because you're always in connection. How does your divine masculine feel? My intuition says he's doing well, so I'll believe that. 0% answered that. And I think I said that in that video about this as well. It's actually not such a huge topic as it's often portrayed to be. How does the divine masculine feel? There are tons and tons of videos talking endlessly about how your divine masculine feels, with lots of oracle cards and tarot cards. And there is not one thing that they will feel according to oracle card readings. Most often done by people that are actually not in harmonious union. So they can't even channel the collective because they are not in the collective. And your intuition might not be so bad. Maybe you sort of have a grasp on that, and it might be true. So we don't need to do so difficult about that, I think. How does your divine masculine feel? He thinks about me because I had a lot of dreams of him lately. I do think that that is what can happen. That when there's a lot of unconscious communication in other states of consciousness, such as sleeping, dreaming, that might just mean that, yeah, you're just really connecting there and like a little bit busy with each other. So he might be thinking about you even when it's sort of unconsciously. Maybe he's just having this beautiful feeling in there in his heart, like, oh, I just feel called by a divine sort of love in a fraction of a moment that is floating through him. And yeah, because everyone has that intuition in their heart. And that is already thinking about you, because when you are his twin flame, that's you. Yeah, and when you have that, they have that too, because they're also human, just like you. How does your divine masculine feel? Doesn't matter. I focus on myself, and that should be enough. 58% voted for that. Well, I think that's really not such a bad answer, right? It's very reasonable stance to have. I focus on myself, and that should be enough. That's what I'm learning at the moment in my own union, harmonious union process, even. At this moment, very much. All the time I am redirected again by the divine to myself and being shown that my process is enough. The core of me is the union. And all the time I look at him and I conclude something, and it's not necessarily wrong. But then again, the next day, the divine focuses me on myself again and shows me that I can just focus on me, and I am already part of this union. I am the union, you know. So that should really be enough. And focusing on doing your inner work is also enough for the entire union. Certainly, from your point of view, you do the inner work that you feel called to because you feel it. And that's your contribution to the union. And that's in principle enough. So the whole question, how does my divine masculine feel, falls away from that. And at the same time, that frees you up to just connect with them in all your humanness and normalness and just ask them how they're doing. Isn't that a great idea to do that? That's how people share life and love. You can just ask it. Specifically, if you go to your harmonious union, by doing your twin flame inner work, you get there. And when you're in harmonious union, you just ask them how they're feeling today, because you're really genuinely interested in them as a person. That's where the love relationship is happening. And then you know how your divine masculine is feeling. What is your biggest twin flame Halloween fear on the journey? Yeah, I thought that was fun. Of course, it was Halloween very short while ago, and it's all about spooky things. So I was like, yeah, let's look into twin flame fears. And the poll received 8 votes, and the first one got 13% votes, and it says, my biggest twin flame Halloween fear is to lose what I'm accustomed to. And I understand that. There's so many things that are changing on the journey. You change, your relationships change, your outlook on life, your experiencing of relationships. It all changes, and yeah, that can be fearful. I totally understand that. But it's the amount that we believe in our fear that is actually keeping us stuck there. You can also choose to not believe in your fear, but be with the divine in your heart. And fear has no place there. And then you will see that things change because they transform. But that's not fearful anymore. And the second answer was, I'm afraid because it can be that it's a false twin flame. 50% voted for that. Yeah, I understand. I understand, because you might then have invested all your time and money and inner work and effort into what is essentially, at the end of the day, the wrong person. And there's a lot of work in undoing that, and moving on to the true twin flame. But it's also not really something to be that afraid of for this reason. The false twin flame actually often brings you, when you have this experience, you might not know it when you're in it, but it does bring you to the true twin flame. It gives you the experience that you need to be able to choose the correct attunement for being with the true twin flame. It makes clear to you what is not you, what you don't want, what is the contrast that you need to learn your lesson. And when you've learned it, well, the twin flame will be there for you. So it often will just already be there right in front of your nose. That's really happening a lot. So when it's a false twin flame and they fall away, that's not necessarily bad. The only thing that means is that there is still a true twin flame for you out there. And you can meet them and be in that ultimate love. So it doesn't necessarily need to be bad at all. Good to know. What is your biggest twin flame Halloween fear on the journey? That will never be together, says 38%. Aw, that's so sad. Yeah, that will never be together. Yeah, I lived in that fear too. And I had to work myself through that fear over and over and over and over, even in harmonious union. But then it was really possible to work myself through that fear. Because I actually already chose differently and it was already done in harmonious union, but I still was working through all these remnants of these fears. Yeah, that will never be together. And now I could work through it. Now I could work through it. And I worked through it and worked through it. And I lost that fear. And I'm just having a wonderful life. I've never been happier in my entire life. Never. It's just really, I'm just amazingly happy. And that alone is worth it. And I know that we will be together. It's just a given. And you can guarantee that to yourself by doing the true twin flame inner work with the key tool and going to harmonious union. And that's how you guarantee it to yourself, by going all in with that. So it will be inevitable for you too. What is your biggest twin flame fear? That the pain never leaves. 0% voted for that. But I do think that people experience a lot of pain, psychological pain, emotional pain, and you can be afraid that it never ends. But it will end. Your union itself the process of it will end it. But sometimes it can have the impression that first you need to feel more pain because it comes up to be released. And it's also true that people often, as we actually discussed earlier, people often need an enormous amount of pain and suffering before they are ready to invest their time, money, and effort in the twin flame inner work that is the correct twin flame inner work, through which they guarantee themselves that they are going to be in a harmonious union and build their life together and be together. So this pain also serves, this suffering serves a role. It serves, it is there for a good reason. It will eventually make you go do the actual work and arrive, make you arrive. It's the contrast, right? Things become clear from that contrast. For instance, that you do want to do it, even if you do need to do some things, even if it means letting your ego go, if it means investing your time in doing inner work, even if it means learning another inner work tool that you did not know yet. Yeah. What is your biggest Twin Flame Halloween fear on the journey? Your fear will dissipate on the journey itself, because you get to understand yourself on a very different level by doing the twin flame inner work. And there, when you finally go live there and stay there, the place of the outcome of the twin flame inner work, then you start to understand that there is no fear there. Fear cannot penetrate that place. So that's good to know. Let's move on. What would you like to know more of? This poll received 8 votes. My own journey, that's mine. I meant mine with that. 25% voted for that. I meant the journey of the maker of these videos and polls, Petra. So people want to know more about my journey. I do share about my journey on all kinds of occasions. I understand that there might be more to say about that, and I guess there will be times in which that is appropriate to do more of. My own results, 0% voted for that. I think that was also pointing to me, Petra. How to distinguish the false from the true twin flames, 63% voted for that. You want to know more of that. We can make videos, more videos about that. I do have videos about the false and the true twin flame. You can always go to the channel page by clicking on the name of my channel or on the circle symbol of it, and there you will see a search bar with a magnifying glass, and you put a search term in it, press enter, and then you might see if I have a video about any topic that you want to hear more about, and also the true and false twin flame. Why you haven't reached the end of the journey yet, 13% answered that. You want to know more of that, why you haven't reached the end of the journey yet. Good. Well, let's see if we can make more content about that. Something else right below, 0%, and I did not screenshot it, so there were not more things about that. Indeed, very good. So that was the end of all the polls and quizzes for now. Thank you so much for participating in them. Let me know how it was for you to hear me discuss it. Indeed, if you have more, see the last poll. If you have more topics that you want me to make videos about, write them in the comments below. That would be wonderful. And I will send you back to part 1 of this 4-part series of discussing all the polls and quizzes, because maybe you've missed them, or maybe you want to start over. And I will put number 1 here again in a couple seconds after I have stopped talking. And Yeah, I think that was all I wanted to say for now. Thank you so much for watching. See you real soon. Love from Petra.